thank you for having me. I'm Jim Bruner. I am the futurist farmer and alpha animal at Mezzacello Urban Farm in Columbus, Ohio, in the United States, North American continent. I'm here to present to you today about the actions that I take daily on sustainability and renewability, and renewable energy, I should say, as mandated or outlined by the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And the two pieces of this I'll be talking about today incorporate about 12 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, 12 out of 17. And I'm running all of these through a series of summer camps, 1 week long summer camps here in Columbus, Ohio, for rising middle and early high school aged kids. And these kids are not only learning about sustainability and renewable energy and renewable practices, but they are building inventions that tie into that. This group in particular, during this presentation, has built an automatic watering and planting system using robots and engineers raised beds and soils. And so I wanted to walk through that with you. I think a lot of your audience will be interested in this because it is so easy to do and replicable once you understand what it is that nature and the planet in general actually needs. So if I could, may I share my screen? Okay.
We see it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so as I said, today I'm talking about sustainability and renewables on a technology farm. And I have terrible lighting, I apologize, but a technology farm is a newer idea, and it's something that I've been building towards for about 5 years now. So again, the name of my farm is Mezzacello, and it is located in downtown Columbus, Ohio, in the United States. So about me, this is me in early March with a whole bunch of marigolds and plants to dissuade pests from eating all of my garden. So I went to the florist and bought these, and this is what I started everything with. So there's a little bit of information there about Mezzacello and myself and my mission. I won't read it. You can read it. So I have one rule, and it's actually a compound rule. It's the rule of sustainability divided by the rule of natural expansion. So the rule of 3 to 8 is if you're going to have 3 things, for example, a pond, you're going to have to provide water, fish, and power for the pump. Unless the power comes from a mountain and there's a stream. Like I said, I'm in downtown Columbus, so I have to power this on my own. So my source of water is rainwater, some city water, but mostly rainwater. My fish come from friends, and the power comes mostly from the sun in terms of solar arrays and some geothermal wind and traffic. These wind turbines on my livestock sheds actually turn 4 times as fast at rush hour traffic than they do during the day. So it's actually rush hour traffic that's powering my pump on this pond. And from those 3 things, I get 8 things. And this is a sample of the 8 things that I generally get. I get liquid fertilizers, I get soil amendments, it attracts predators that eat mosquitoes and other pests, pollinators that pollinate fruits and vegetables. I get feed for the fish, my ducks, my chickens, a source of nitrogen, a place for the fish to lay eggs, more fish, I get water and algae, and I get water in the winter because the pond is almost 2 meters deep and doesn't freeze. So I always have water and I'm drought proof. So renewables is the bottom part of that equation, the rule of 1 to 1.618. And that's a very special number in nature, that's phi. And almost everything in nature follows this rule, from our DNA to the swirls of galaxies, to sunflowers, to the way that rabbits recreate or procreate in nature. It's a very important number, so I pay very close attention to it. It also shows up when we stop thinking about the periodic table of the elements as a Mendeleev table, which was convenient in the 19th century when that particular Russian monk invented the concept of periodicity. It's easier if you think about hydrogen at the center and phi swirling out. And what that allows is for all the elements that we know of and can be created on this planet to form a spider's web. And it puts all of the periodic reactive elements on the outside of the web. So anything that could harm life is as far away from that green rhomboid as possible. And that green rhomboid is what everything that grows requires. So we'll come back to that. If you have questions, I'll answer after. I have a few more slides here. So action, intention, and impact is how sustainability and renewables actually work in any environment, built or unbuilt. And in this case, any sustainable or renewable action is a product of the sun. It's an action of the sun. This is the city I live in. It's about 10 blocks away from me, this view. And that's a sunset. That was last night in Columbus, Ohio. The sun is the action. Any sustainable or renewable intention is replicable. These two pictures are both on my farm, and they were taken on the same day. One is my pond. The other is a biodome I built to grow and propagate plants through the winter, so I didn't have to do as much planting, and it's far more renewable and sustainable that way. It's just a children's playground covered over in reused, repurposed clear polyethylene terephthalate. Any sustainable and renewable impact is non-destructive. And that's the problem with renewables. There are no non-destructive renewables that are up to scale yet. And I use these two pictures because I think they're cute. One is the first day of camp this week. The kids found a dead fish, but they knew by Wednesday, we can't just throw this fish away. So they planted the fish in a garden bed that needed nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, oxygen, sulfur, and hydrogen. And then they made out of Play-Doh a tombstone for little Timmy, which is what they called the fish. But no matter what, those atoms and molecules are going to be put back to work. So I say action, impact, and intention. I also like pattern, process, and structure. The pattern is sustainable, the process is replicable, the structure is non-destructive. So everyone who's been following me, and if you haven't been following me, you know I'm very passionate about sustainability and renewables because it's the right thing to do, and it's absolutely the right time to do it. And I already did a talk a couple of, maybe last year, on how I follow all 17 of these sustainable development goals. This is a talk about how you can do it locally. If you want to see that, go back and watch that on the GIFT YouTube channel. What we're going to be talking about is how I model sustainability and renewability using these particular raised garden beds. And this is my garden. It's color-coded by ecosystem. So there are 10 ecosystems that are all interdependent and sustainable within my 1/3 of an acre, my 1.5 hectares of land in downtown Columbus. We are going to be talking about ecosystem 8, which is the light lavender one at the back. Those are the potager garden beds, which are all renewable resourced soil that I created using a bioreactor, and all the raised beds. In particular, we're going to be talking about the raised beds in this talk. So this is the story of the raised beds. This is a young man named Liam who came up with the idea last camp and really wanted to build something sustainable and renewable. So he just sketched it out on a piece of paper like kids are wont to do. And then we took it and put it in CAD and built it out and factored in what materials we were going to need, had everything we could donated, reused everything we could from the farm, and we built 20 of these. And that's me standing in one because Liam designed these for 200 kilos because we have to factor in dirt and water as well as biomass. So this supports me quite easily, and they're self-leveling. Oops, sorry, I'm not done with that. These are the raised beds that we built for the back. They are built to model a forest floor. They have a small watertight pond that's about 10 centimeters deep, and then weep holes on the side, a cinder block in the bottom, and then dirt, and basically everything you'll find in a forest floor beneath that dirt. And there's a reason for that. In that way, these beds water themselves. This is a cross-section of them and a plan view. This is all on my website, by the way. If you go to mezzacello.org, you'll find out how to make these. This is how they built it. They put the cinder block in the bottom, covered it over with plastic, filled it with water, put the forest floor on the bottom, covered that over with topsoil, dropped in pollinators, worms, microorganisms, and seeded it with beer, soda, and ammonia, let it sit for a week, and now it's thriving. So what are automatic raised beds? They are engineered soil on top of basically a forest floor. In permaculture, this is called hugelkultur, which is German for hill country. But it's basically how the forest waters itself. It's a cycle of life. Nature will break things down into its constituent atoms and elements and molecules, and atoms and elements are the same thing, obviously. And life persists. So in these particular beds, all 12 of them are watered by the, I don't know if you can see it, Jake, because our pictures are in front of it, but the bioreactor provides all the energy for the pump, from the wind turbines to the solar panels, and rainwater provides all the water. The water is under pressure, and it's wired to these beds by small reusable tubing and misters. And there's an Arduino that we programmed that waters them once a day. And the weather station and telemetry on top of the weather station doesn't water them if it rains, because why pay for a resource that is free and renewable and sustainable? So why I believe in renewable energy and technology as a promise to make sustainability a real thing. And it is clean hands and dirty hands. Some kids just like to get dirty. Some kids, like my friend Summer here, she loves animals. She's not freaked out by the idea of manure. And then there are other friends, like my friend Caden, who just cannot stand the idea of having his hands in dirt, but sees that it's important. Caden likes engineering. He likes CAD. He likes programming. He likes science. Summer likes vet tech. She likes science and she likes nature, but they belong together. And if they work together, that's replicable, sustainable, and renewable, because it's each one of their passions working to one goal. And by asking questions like these of kids, when they're not expecting to be asked questions like this, we can model really complex behavior like, I don't know, relativity, quantum physics, the natural cycle, the nitrogen, water, hydrogen, oxygen, and the carbon cycle on this planet. And it all makes sense. So in the back, we have an engineer who's teaching kids about pressure. He's 9. We have another kid who's 10, who's wiring up a methane-generated hot water heater. We generate our own methane here too with a homemade pressurized pump. And then we're also studying molecular machines inside the cell and electron valence shields and quantum uncertainty at the atomic level. All of these things make sense to kids when you pose it as an answer to the world's problem. Don't overlook it. And this is Sophia relating relativity and the special theory of relativity to the fact that energy and matter are equivalent, because all matter is made from energy. Energy lies at the heart of everything. And this is her realizing this is why a pound of hydrogen fuse can destroy Hiroshima. That makes so much sense now. Boom. All of this comes from these systems that generate sun or turn sunlight into electrical direct current power, and wind and traffic wind into direct current power from wind turbines, day or night, and provide me power on my entire farm. That's a renewable source. The entire farm is powered by wind, solar, batteries, and gravity batteries. And I wanted to answer a question that I get every time I present. Where does Mezzacello come from? And this is the story. I love Thomas Jefferson, but we can't call this farm Monticello 2.0. Oops. Because 1, we'd get sued because we don't own that name. And 2, we can't afford it. Thomas Jefferson was a wealthy man. I am not. But I do have passion, intelligence, curiosity, and access to brilliant young minds that can make Monticello into Mezzacello, and that's why I call it Mezzacello. And I bring that up because we are at a very important time in the idea of our planet and our nation, and indeed our entire species, where we need to actively begin exploring frontiers again, just like Lewis and Clark did, just like Thomas Jefferson did in 1800. Here's the issue. This is CO2 in our planet's atmosphere tracked by the Smithsonian Institute from 1800 to 2022. Look at that red line. That is not sustainable. That map between Lewis and Clark here, that's what it looks like 120 kilometers above the planet at night. That is also not sustainable if we don't start doing something to model sustainability and renewable energy at scale. And it starts with us. It doesn't start with kids. It starts with us, and we empower kids to take over. But we have to start doing something. We need to be the change we want to see in the world. We need to grow them. We need to teach them to maintain what we have, sustain what we want, and explain it to future generations. And that is what I try to do at Mezzacello. And that's why I'm so happy that I get to give these presentations, because it is really, all four of those are core to my purpose, mission, and passion. And Thomas Jefferson wants to know if we have any questions. That's my presentation.
Congratulations, Jim. First of all, we've been getting some feedback on YouTube, and one of the questions is, if people contact you, will you help them replicate and do what you're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Use the contact form so I know. Don't spam me by email. But everything you need is on my website. I can just give you guidelines on what to search for. Because I'm a nonprofit, Jake, I make everything open source and available. Everything. So you can start by searching Mezzacello, but if you want my help, of course I will help. I'm not going to say no. The answer to the world's problem isn't sitting on the web waiting. It's making the web available to all. And that is really what Mezzacello's mission is. Any other questions?
So, hi, Michelle here. So when students come for the week, could you sort of outline how they would spend, if they only can come for a week, how would they spend that week?
Oh, I modeled that very, very cleanly. The first day is spent understanding the ecosystems, understanding all the systems, understanding how it works, why it works. Did I lose you?
No, you're here.
And then we build teams. So on Monday, we'll form 3 teams, because I do everything in threes, because it just makes it easier for kids, smaller groups, and they can creatively compete and work with each other. But I can also cycle them through to optimize what they're learning throughout the day. So as one group learns one thing, we spend the second part of the day where that group teaches the other 2 groups what they learned, and vice versa. So I can maximize the amount of exposure and hands-on experience each day. We do this through Wednesday. On Wednesday, they build a product that they want to solve something with. So Jake and Michelle, all of those raised beds were built in a week. And then on Thursday, they start creating a script and resources to help teach that will go on the website. And Friday, they practice and they put together a video that we film for them and their parents. And then all their parents in the community comes and they present live and then give tours and answer questions. And I do that every week, 11 times during the summer. And this year I have a grant from Battelle, which is a nonprofit here, Research and Development Institute here in Columbus, Ohio, and another grant from the city of Columbus, where I've been able to offer all of these camps for free.
Wow.
And especially to at-risk and marginalized communities, because they're the ones that need this data and information the most. But my problem is no one knows I exist. So my camps aren't filling. I'm doing amazing things, but no one knows I'm doing it. So I could really use some love on social media to grow my prospects here, because my end goal, my 3-year goal for this is I want 3 more of these in Columbus. I want 3 more autonomous Mezzacello units in Columbus, in areas that desperately need to understand the relationship between food, sustainability, renewable power, and water generation. And then from there, let's just keep building them and getting better and better and better until we can spread them around the world, which is really where this needs to be. Because we're not going to Mars or the moon or even in low Earth orbit without a system like this, where we can ensure that we have access to fresh food and water.
Was intrigued by your what appear to be rather small wind turbines.
Yes, the vertical access wind turbines.
Yeah. Did you design them or find them?
Yes and no and yes. I bought them from Amazon. I bought 4 of them. They're incredibly efficient. I was so impressed by them that one of my interns from high school over the winter designed them in a CAD application called Blender, and we are now 3D printing them. And then I have another friend who is a sculptor, and he regularly makes cast sculpture, and he is making the iron armatures to wrap the wire and the permanent magnets in. So when the wind turns, those completely one-piece, 3-dimensional 3D printed turbines, they generate power automatically. And our goal this year is to 3D print 5 of them and get them installed in community gardens around me, so they can start seeing and put them close to the road, because we waste so much kinetic and potential energy on buses. So much. And the research project that his name was Hadim, was doing was he was building a truck designed for Doctors Without Borders. And it's designed to work in his country of Bangladesh during monsoon season, where he could mount them to the back of a truck, an electrically powered truck. And as it drives across the long straightaways of Bangladesh, the wind turbines generate power and re-power all the batteries on this truck. So when they pull up to a camp where refugees are staying, everybody can plug in, renew their batteries, put their water clarifiers on, charge up anything they need charged, and then drive to the next one and power up again. This is how we change the world, literally. It's by doing what you're doing, Jake and Julie and Michelle, by empowering kids to know, not only do you have the answers, you have the answers we don't know we need yet, but we can't get it until we ask for it and let them know it's your responsibility and indeed your right to be that change. But first, we have to get them over their fear of being fabulous. Every kid is born curious and powerful. They're told they're not. And my goal is to tell them they are and give them tools, leadership tools and technology tools and experience tools and Mezzacello to see they already have it in them. They just don't know how to turn the key. And I think I'm done. I'm getting off my soapbox now, but I'm out of time.
Okay, so let me drag you back on the soapbox for a second. We only have a few minutes left. As an engineer, whenever I start a project, the first thing I want to do is organize my equipment, my parts, my information. And so I'm very intrigued because the way you organize things really points you in a direction to a solution. I would like you to, if you could, explain your reorganization of the elements instead of the periodic table. You showed
Sure.
a type of table. Can you explain that, please?
I can. All right. Well, we all know that nature doesn't reinvent the wheel, right? The way we understand periodicity, transitional to metals, to alkalines, to the noble gases, and so on, is because that's what Mendeleev did, and we've always done it that way, so why would we change? Nature does not have spiders spinning grids. She just doesn't do that. She starts with a point and she spirals out. Like the great Greek philosophers, Heraclitus, I believe, said Pantareia, everything spirals. All transitional or transcendental numbers, pi, phi, the natural number e, the logarithmic numbers, Euler's constant, they all spiral. So I thought, why wouldn't the periodic table of elements spiral as well? And in fact, it does. And literally, if you want to play with a kid's mind, make a liquid form of Mendeleev's chart with magnetic ink, put a pen on hydrogen and just start spinning, and you will see they all come together just like I illustrated. And the lanthanides, actinides, and strongly radioactives, which pop out, fold underneath when you spin it into a circle. And they're as far away from the natural rhomboid of life as they can be. I think that's a far more elegant way to explain the way that nature, when she explodes a star, creates elements that spread out, just like a supernova, just like a spider web, just like a drain, a hurricane, a galaxy. It's just a more elegant way of explaining why things relate. The periods are all still there. They stay in place. They just spiral like phi out from old man hydrogen, the original.
I love that comment. Spiders don't don't spin wet grids. You're
No.
right. They don't.
Wheels aren't square for that reason.
So Jim, have you presented this concept in many places? And
No, this is the first time I kind of put it all together in one presentation.
really,
Yeah.
we were
Oh.
here first. This is exceptional.
Why, thank you. I've been living it for 5 years. I just really haven't synthesized it like this. And I left my job this year at the organization I adored, because this is what I believe nature and the universe wants me to do. It wants me to show and model and encourage sustainability and renewable power, and how we can be that change that this planet, our species, every living thing and non-living thing on this planet desperately needs for humanity to get over itself and stop making itself that spider on a grid that doesn't make any sense in the natural world at all.
Wow. And so how many students come back again and again?
I started with 2, and next camp I have 24. So I mean, they come back, and I'm out of time, I know, but one of the innovations that I do is every year I choose 6 students who are exceptional. They're really patient, they're really intelligent, they're really curious, their skill sets are remarkably fine-tuned. And then during the winter, I train them in a leadership academy, and they are my teachers. I do not teach kids. Kids teach kids. I teach those kids, because that, again, is a sustainable model. If I tried to do it all for all 16 or 20 of these kids, there's no way. And I can't afford to replicate myself by paying people. So I hire one teacher to help me with social emotional learning, and I take 2 to 3 kids at a time to teach, and they take a team and go. And you would be shocked at how powerful near-peer and peer-to-peer mentoring actually is in the field, because these kids are terrified, and these kids that are teaching are confident, competent, and they are compassionate, and everybody wins. And it's a beautiful model. And I probably should do my next, if I do another gift presentation, I should probably do it on that leadership model.
Oh, please. No, seriously. Yes, definitely. You can do something else, but you have to do that.
Okay, I will write that up. I'll get better lighting before tonight as well, Jake.
The writing is fine. Your enthusiasm lights up the world. Yes, that would be excellent. That would be excellent.
Well, thank you for your time.
No, thank you.